put this up on the WhatsApp. Got it.
Okay. I can never quite tell when we're live, but I can see us on the screen.
It says live.
Okay.
It says it on mine, so I know that so must be happening.
Okay. Yes. Right. So
Good.
trusting that we're live. Greetings and welcome.
Greetings.
Oh, I need to pause my YouTube thing so that it doesn't echo. Right. Right. As we know, this is not my forte, the technicalities. So thank you, Chia, for being here, and welcome, and thank you all who are with us live or later. So we'll be exploring, the divine masculine and feminine within, the healing, the explorations, our personal, what I call experiences of these dynamics within me. Yeah, and there feels like so much, the energies have just been so intense today. At least there have been 3 of us who have felt really sleepy in the afternoon. I remember I felt it, and then when I reached out you reached out and then you shared, and when you said the time, I was like, yes, that's the time I felt really sleepy. And then another friend of mine said, I just feel really quiet, like I just need to rest, So yeah, thank you for being here and for initiating, for inspiring this conversation.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I am really delighted to sit here with you today. And yeah, everything you said about the tiredness of what happened today, I think today was the very first time in a long time that I actually took a sleep on a train. So yeah, like I held my bag like this and I just had to. Yeah. I just had to, because I just felt like in order to ground even a little bit, I couldn't wait to get home to just ground, and I had to just go in. But it was, about 3 o'clock. There was something that I was like, I could easily just curl up in this office and sleep, but it came on quite suddenly. It wasn't a gradual tiredness. It just, something's shifting, something happening.
Yes, me call it when sleep draw me away. It's like some things needs to occur, and my consciousness needs to just draw away so that the real boss can come in and do what they need to do, bosses. Yeah. So I am moved to share a message that had come through me when it was March 2020. And I'd been at a workshop, and towards the end of the workshop, this workshop, there were mostly women, and there was one man there. And I just heard myself saying, there is a need for us as women to understand that a huge part of the role of the divine feminine is to support the healing of the divine masculine. The divine masculine within, and the men, the divine masculine within the men and represented by the men. And it was interesting to hear it come through. And as I heard it, I could feel things in the women, like, what, we're supposed to heal, but they've been so, not unspoken energy that, yes, and it just stayed, that message just stayed. And today, I had a meeting and I needed a notebook, and I grabbed the one closest to me. I opened it, and when I opened it, it was marked at the page, the notebook with one of the strings. It happened to be at a page which says topic, healing the divine masculine, role of the divine feminine. And this was December 2020 is the date on it. I was like, okay, so we're in line. We're in line, yes. Opposite that, I came across notes which I had written during an exercise in a workshop, which was all about the divine masculine and feminine, which I moved to just read, yeah, it felt relative, it felt right, so I'll read it. So walking the 8 down to Python, the feminine of earth serpent, of the earth serpent, to her womb, tears, red ochre. You have old stories to tell, old stories to let go of, old stories to let go of. Tears stream heavily, yet cold rather than hot. Tears without stories, but with whispers, echoes which seem to bounce off from the walls of time, infinity. Timeless tears, timeless stories, timeless whispers of resistance, of fears, of memories, of fears of letting go, lest you may drown in yourself into all that you are. You have new stories to tell, new stories of the old stories, old groans you explore to help others to explore where you've courageously gone before. And then there's a bubble which says relationships, and Typhon, which is the male serpent, got very emotional. Typhon appeared powerfully and quickly. He danced my body wildly, seductively, sensually, protectively, encouraging me to let go unto him. He is steadfast, unflinchingly steadfast. And then it says the relationship, Typhon and Python, how they move together through me, their relationship within me, sometimes merged, sometimes parallel, yet always symbiotic. Yeah. And this was exactly 2 years ago that this was written, and yeah, when I read this, I was like, okay, yeah, now I remember why I did everything, because it tends to bring context later on,
when sometimes you get the downloads right and you don't really understand what the downloads mean, but it's for it's for the future, because of what is to come,
yes.
and you're laying the path. What came up actually when you said that, especially when you said the relationships and then you went to Typhon, and then also, which I know that we'll go into, what is that role, what does it look like? But the word trust is a hard, trust has got so many levels to it, but we really need to look at the divine feminine trusting her process, trusting her magic, trusting her role, her service in this time that we're in, forget what we see out there in the matrix or whatever, but just trusting within, this is my role and I must play this for the greater good of all sons across the world. And then the divine masculine having this awakening, which I said to you before, this heart purge, because it's the divine feminine that will help the masculine through his heart, but you're only gonna understand through your heart because it's the feminine that comes with, you know, it's a feminine energy that has that, the nurturing and the emotions and stuff like that. And where men in the physical, feelings haven't been at the forefront of what you're doing. So the only way that you're going to heal now is to feel, but then it's going to be a lot when every part of your stuff comes up that you've never looked at before. But then it's also going to be them trusting to be held and guided. However, that's then difficult because in the physical reality, where there's been the toxic femininity and the toxic masculinity and the narrative and the gender wars and all that sorts of stuff, it doesn't look like we could actually trust each other to do nothing. So trust. And it triggered me too, because I have to ask myself, do I trust? I have my wants, I have my needs, I have my visions for the future, I have my, you know, my divine husband. Where is he? Where you know, you have your days, where are you? Where are you? And then there's other days, Rob, I don't trust you, man.
Yeah. And as you describe that, it brings me back to right here. Be still and start to know, being still and starting to know, which feels like a big part of the journey that and the learnings of the journey. And when I say the journey, is my journey within and my journey without, which I don't know which one come first. Well, yeah, this definitely the soul come first, the spirit come first, the heart come first, you know. And what you describe, experiencing having to surrender to myself, to the masculine in me, because more so in recent years than ever, I've realized how stubborn my feminine is, because is she a no, is she a trust, is she a, you know, and she do everything. And I will often refer to she and him because I have a very visual sense of them. You know, when I say them, of myself, these aspects of myself. So I think especially for the listeners to understand that is not, when I say him, is not necessarily a physical man or a physical woman.
It's polarities of energy within.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
So just to say as well to the listeners, if you know anything about feminine and masculine energy, you know, there's principles attached to the feminine energy: nurturing, creativity, softness, flow. You know, there's a whole plethora of things, and the feminine energy creates, and then the masculine energy manifests, but that's action and movement and, you know, thoroughness and aggression and passion, and it's those things. So everybody needs the two polarities to be in balance. We can't just, you know, just be one thing. So that's what Saya is saying in terms of what that looks like. But then there's so many levels to it because of what the physicality of what masculine and feminine is. You know, some people don't really understand when we say divine masculine, they're like, what, talk about the guy within? And it's like, well, what's happening within me, my masculine, I can see it, you know, sometimes it's playing out in the masculine because it's, you know, it's a mirror. You know, our lives is a mirror. But yeah, and what you said there in terms of, that's where Chia came from, because government name is Nadine. You know, I've been Nadine for a little while. And I needed to work on my feminine energy, and I knew I had a lot of energy. So the chi came, and then the just made it a little bit more feminine. And I was like, okay, when I say chia, I feel in that softer place. And then my masculine is Chan, but we never talk about Chan. Nobody don't know about Chan. It's Chia and Chan. You know that they say it's Chia and Chan. It's a private conversation and dance.
Union. Yes, dance.
That happens within, and it's sacred and so deep and intimate what those inner conversations are that are connected to our inner desires and will and needs, that we don't even know if we could be that deep in a physical with a counterpart, but mostly because we haven't seen examples of it or we don't know it, but it's inside. It's so, the conversation, it's a different level.
Yes.
You
totally,
know?
Totally. And it is so subtle. It requires, in my experience, a real commitment to self-observation. So for instance, I went to the woods. I went to the woods, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago. And I had gone in, stopped at a tree, just, did my libation and pause little, just, entering the woods. And then I carried on. I don't know, maybe I took 5 steps, but not far in, it was really muddy. And I didn't have my wellies on. And I saw the mud and I was like, oh, can the shoes manage? And as I thought that, I heard, come, it's all right. You don't need to go through it, just, we can turn back. Literally like that within myself. And then I was like, no, man, maybe I need to go through the mud. The shoes can make it and I can. And as I heard that, as I heard myself looking at the mud, deciding, yeah, man, I can do this, I literally saw my masculine just chilling, just, like, him just easy. Until when I look and I see, I was just like, all right, like I heard myself. And it's like, I heard him say, you don't need to. You trod through the mud enough time. You've done it enough times. It's okay. Come, trust me now. Let's go. And I laughed, and because I recognized that dominance, within me, which again, we tend to think of dominance as masculine, and I find that the roles are often not so defined within me, because sometimes the feminine has to be dominant. Sometimes the masculine has to surrender, to allow himself to be tendered and tended to in order to carry on. But I don't want, so that was an example of, and I turned back, and I had, before I went to the woods, I had asked to find a flat area that I could just sit on. I didn't want to walk with a chair or a mat. I just wanted to go in, but I felt like I just wanted to lay on the land. Anyway, walk back, and I was drawn to stop by the same tree, and move to just walk, just step a little bit into the, and a few paces in, I saw a fallen tree, and Chia, I laid on the tree like I would have easily fallen asleep on the tree. It was so perfect, so comfortable. It held me so well, So for me, that was a reward of allowing myself, the feminine within me, to surrender to that voice that said, and that is that, come, we got you. Just trust me.
You know what? When you said that, it reminded me. So I love talking to you, because I can just sit here and just channel and just hear. It reminded me of just other things that have come up, or sayings, even though I haven't got my notebooks on, but I remember like just a download at one point when I was just thinking of the divine masculine, divine feminine, and that union. And I just heard that the divine feminine say to the divine masculine, surrender your heart to my heart, and I will lead us where we need to go. And then I can surrender to your leadership in the physical to where you need me to go. And in healing, like personally, when I've been doing some healing around, actually, no, let me start here. So years ago, under a different, mentorship, when I first started to understand divine masculine and divine feminine, and started working on my mother wound and my father wounds, which are also represented, they're your first physical representatives of the masculine and feminine. That teacher had said to me, how does your inner masculine and feminine treat each other? And think about how your parents treated each other, and they're probably pretty much doing the same thing within each other, which gave me like a different sense. Like suddenly I could see where this one was trying, this one was listening, this wasn't. And I, because that's, as a child, that's is what you're looking at. But as the years have gone on and I've been working, and my mother wound is beautiful, it's come round full circle. I never thought that would happen. My dad, the dad one's father wound's different, but they both affected me differently. So as with clients, I've said to them, well, we see with the mother wound, there's a lot more emotional stuff that happens with that. It's a very painful heart process when you're trying to work through what your stuff is with your mother. When it came to the stuff with the father, as a woman now, it became a bit more physical now. Like my body's hurting, like it's wearing an energy just wearing down on your body, and it makes you feel down because, I think as women in general, as long as we can move, we're okay, right? The minute we get any little bits of pain and stuff, it makes us feel less confident because we're so used to doing everything ourselves. If we can't do one little thing, like even hoover, because your back's hurting, you suddenly you're not good enough, you're not this, you don't feel that strong and whatever. And yeah, it physically, like for myself in the pandemic, just overnight, I just started to get this pain in my right hip. I knew it was the right side. Initially, I was like, okay, I'm not moving too much, but I also hadn't spoke to my dad in 9 years, and a phone call came, like it came through around April, and I look at the phone and I thought, I'm dealing with a pandemic. No. And then something had happened with somebody that I was dating at that time. And then basically over the last 2 years, that pain spread till it was the whole right side. And if you could chop me in two, feminine feels as strong as an ox. Masculine felt weak. Like it's like having two different people, inside you, and it was just a different type of pain. And I've never been in physical pain before, but still always aware it's on the right side. It's on the right side though. It's all on the right side. Almost like I feel my right ovary, but my left ovary feels cool. In my right hip, if it's the kidney, I can feel it's only the right kidney. It's like that deep. And more recently through therapy and my own, I had to come to a realization where I was like, you didn't realize, but you're seeing the masculine as weak. Like you've got so fed up in waiting. You've got so fed up in the physical, where in your physical relationships with the masculines, you felt so let down. I felt so let down. Like what more I don't know what it is ever to be carried and supported. It's always been something, even if I was trying to be soft, it was always like, well, you can just handle it. But I didn't realize I had got to a place where we'd just given up. We'd completely given up.
Mm.
And I recently decided at the beginning of this year, you know, I need to invest differently. Like, we've got to do things differently. Masculine, we've got to do things different. What we've been doing up until now, it served us till now, but we've got to do this different. And I physically went to a male healer because I was like, I need to, it's easy to go to female healers, but I need to just go see somebody, not even think about it, because I need to be held and feel safe in space without feeling I'm going to be violated in any way, shape, or form. But year started, just about had the money. I said, I don't care. I need to do that. And my masculine needs to feel invested in.
Yes.
Calling
for attention.
In a soft way, in a loving, gentle way, in a cooing way, in a, you know, but that's just literally just last week. But, you know, and we've, you know, when we emailed and whatever, that's why I just said, oh, say like, this is just kind of what's coming up for me. And that's current. But yeah, that feeling of weak. And, you know, I think sometimes we have to be honest. Like some of my clients, I've had to say to them that we all have negative and positive feelings, but you need to get real with how it is that you really feel at the root. You don't have to lead with those feelings. But some women, I have to say to them, you hate them. That's what you sound. But remember, when I say I hate, if you hate out there, you're hating in here. So you're hating a part of you. And you want, but then you push, because it doesn't fit, you know. So then when you're raising people to a level of perfection that you're not even that level of perfection. And really, we're talking to the sons, like the little boys inside that, like, help, like, you know, don't matter what in the physical that brother, whatever looks like, there is
the babies that get told stop your crying like your girl child, and you know you mustn't show no emotion, you mustn't, so it just
And when you think years, there's a poem that I've got called Young Man. I can't recite it, but there's a bit in it that just says,
you have it.
A man crying. I don't have it. That's what I was trying to find earlier.
Okay, yes.
And then I told you I found this other one called Dear Black Man, but it was about young men. But there's a bit in it that says, a man can't cry no tears. Imagine a man can't cry no tears. And then it's talking about years and years with no tears. Years and years with no tears. Yeah. Here comes the problem. And then in the poem, it's breaking down, what does that look like if men have wounds that have never seeped from their eyes, ever? What does that look like on the inside? When the body is designed for you to outpour your stress through these tears. It's got nothing to do with being masculine or feminine. The body is designed to release that wastage as tears. But we have so many men that logically, you don't even have to be deeply emotionally intelligent to know that if that man has lost someone close to him, you know what it's like as a woman if someone close to you, and you know how it hurt your heart. I've always found it quite hard to understand why some women, divine feminine, you don't actually see that that person would hurt emotionally from the same loss that you would have, or the same heartbreak, or the same relationship breakup, or the same joy. And the reason why I say that is I have a documentary that I created called He's Vulnerable When, which was a journey I did start in 2017 to explore men's healing and the journey I've had with my dad as a daughter, because, you know, nobody talk about daddyless daughters and that impact. But, and I will invite you, Saya, because I'm doing another sharing of it. But in that documentary, some of the men are saying things like, man, the first time I held my daughter and I put her to my chest, man, you know, you don't hear these things, but women don't think that these men, but of course they do. He's talking about the first time he bathed his child in one, like how he was scared. Like, it's the same feeling that we've had, but there's a block sometimes. And I don't know if that's around. I don't know if it's because of the belief systems, the outdated belief systems that we have, because so much women are fed up, whether we felt let down by our dad, our uncle, the granddad, the this, that, and the other, that our belief system, like we don't even believe. We want, but we don't have no belief or no hope, right? So it's just like a toxic circle that you go around in. However, one thing I've learned for myself is you have to get so real with yourself. If I say I want that divine union within myself and in my physical, I really have to surrender. I really have to look at those parts of me that doesn't believe on a deep level. I really have to look at those parts of me that just wants to say cha. You know?
And don't just want to say it, but the parts that say cha.
Check myself. That's why, as you said, it comes back to you within. It always comes back to you and your accountability, which is the hardest part. Because, you know, when you're spending so much time looking out here all the time, oh, but this, that, but it's nothing to do with that. Like, what's going on with you? Because sometimes you're just lying to yourself. I've had clients and be like, you don't sound like you like the person. You're talking to me that you want this relationship to, but you don't. Do you like this person? Because, or I've had people say, oh, you know, but this relationship, I said, but you haven't even told me that you love the person. Love ain't even come into it. I haven't even heard it. Or you broke up. You're not even upset. Like, but they want all these things and they have these expectations. And it's all attachment, isn't it? It's just attachment and codependency, but not a real feeling of, I want to be close. I want to hold your hand through this. I want you to hold my hand through this. I've got you, you've got me, but I need you. And I need your guidance and I love your wisdom, but I also want you to love my wisdom back and not feel that you're inferior because I have this intuition. I have this womb knowledge that you don't have. Don't be jealous. Some people can be jealous of how the wisdom moves, and then they can be got condescending a little bit to don't be too powerful around here. Because I can't use what you use. So let me dumb it down a little bit.
And I'm not able to trust you enough. I'm not able to trust the feminine of anything enough to know that you have this power, but you will not seek to wield it over me rather than share and seek to empower me with your power. You know, have power with rather than power over, because we live, you know, in a society surrounded by people trying to overpower and dominate and control and manipulate. So you know, the mess. I remember when it came to my awareness, it's just like it was just like, but where I start, oh, and that's why I say it's right here. So I have to go into my shit. I had to be willing and continue to have to be willing to see my insecurities and allow life and relationships to reflect my insecurities and to be able to return to me every time I see myself saying, but in this or she. It's like, there's so. That's, that's not where it's at. So come now. And
Mm.
yes, it means going in. It means going into my cave sometimes, not taking calls forever long, or because I just have to be. And there's also, I've found a great value in just allowing the feeling, the emotions without the stories. When I saw that and read stories, and without stories, I was like, it was 2 years ago. Oh my gosh. But it's just really, maybe in the past year or so, I get into no stories. Just, I don't need to figure out why my chest hurting so, or why I feel like I can't stop crying because this, what is it? Or figure out what is it that needs to be purged. No,
It
I
just needs to
don't.
come out. It just
I
needs to
just,
come out and to be a part of your awareness that that's what was living in you. It's funny that you say that, Zay, because I did, and I can't say, well, we're just going to be open.
yeah.
There was somebody that I dated, and the pandemic had started, and it just naturally, it was just like all of this chaos was happening, and it was like, you got to do you, I got to do you. But we was cool. I don't know if it was going to go anywhere, but there was a sweetness, right?
Mhm.
And when something it just stays open, there's nothing that happens, there's nothing, it's just stayed open. He's always polite and lovely and whatever is whatever. But it was so funny because I think it was maybe around the Christmas period or the holidays, whatever. I just woke up one day and I just started to cry. I said, what is this? An outpour of me, but you love him. Like I said, what? I had to go and look in the mirror and say, Ruga, what's going on? But it was a return back to the love, like that I didn't know that I loved. I actually didn't know, because it was we were just seeing it. It didn't get, a pandemic happened and then things, but it was such a realization. But then at the same time, it was such a beautiful feeling. And then I was able to just release, because obviously we're not, yes, that's not happening. That's not, what I mean? I've moved on, but I just didn't even know. And sometimes when there's so much pain and stuff like that, that's on top, and we're trying to heal, we never really take the time to remember the sweetness of where it began in the first place. And I said it to someone the other day that, the same way you let love in is the same way you need to let love out. Like, there was a sweetness, how it just, I understand situations happen and people hurt you and stuff like that, but people just become criminals in your mind, and then they become a criminal in your heart, and then you block because you don't want to remember the love. You don't want to remember or feel the love because of what they did. But that's what's hurting, is because at the bottom, there's a love there. So you love it and you let it go, and you feel good that I loved in that moment and in that time, and what it left for me and what it meant. And then I had a lovely smile, because I realized, but that's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to know that I'm capable of loving. That's what I have to try to remember and try to share, especially with women, that, every time you decide to go to close your heart, nothing's going to come in. So you're there worrying about what's going to get you, but how's anything going to come in and out? And you have to learn to have that open heart. But remember why you loved in the first place. Everyone can't just be an op. Like, that's not how it started. People, when you met, it was a dance, innit? Like, there was this beauty,
Yeah.
and people are learning. And I think, conversations like this is beautiful because it's fueled by divine truth. We're both being truth and gentle and soft with each other. And I just wish more in life, when we meet, when we have intersections of meeting, if we could, rather than people having the masks and the lies and the deceit and the deception, that's what creates that mess. And we just carry it. And then we make decisions. That's never going to happen. I'm never going to do that again. I'm just never going to, whatever that's going to happen. If the person's that sort of person, you look at something called Instagram, that's that type of person. We generalize. I'm tired of hearing the generalize, all this, all that, all this. And I'm like, what's that about? You know, and no levels of, what's the word? You know, morals to me and principles is quite important. And it's funny how you can see a toxic energy, a real toxic energy, but because they've said a nugget of truth, people are like, you got to listen. I'm like, no, look at the whole, please. Because we can all say things that you would believe in truth, but in my whole energy, what do you feel? Does it all authentic? Does it all fit together as a puzzle? Or is there just one piece of the puzzle that looked like it came from another puzzle, but it just happened to fit here? That authenticity is important. And it's an energy that we feel. And I think in the dance of union, what does that look like? Like when two authentic souls come with their wounds at the forefront. I'm working through this. I'm at this place, but I am still open to, could you hold me through that, rather than I can't deal with these issues? Because it hurts. And rejection from birth, in all its facets, and going through life, and rejection when we're actually here to connect, is very, very painful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
sorry, I was on there. My armpits feel sweaty, you know, say my armpits feel sweaty.
Man. Is says so it go when the things have to come true. Totally, you know. If you said so much, you know, yes, when you spoke of that opening, the love, the tears, when you had the love just bubble up, you just start crying and you recognize. I've really never quite understood it when people break up and it's like you forget the love, because I always think, but my love don't go anywhere, even regardless of who chose to leave or who fucked up. My love for you is just my love for you. I just love you. I just love, you know? So I've been witness to a lot of that judgment and closing off and being demonized because, and I always think, so what, they thought that was all just it wasn't real? Because I know how palpable my love is, how palpable love is. And I have to say my love because it's what I know, you know, and it just bubble up and it just have to come out. And it will come out and bubble up until it's like, all right, well, you know what? Yeah, there is an imbalance here. So yes, I love you, but we can't go no further in this union, you know? And I might have to take myself away and create a bit of distance for a while, but the love is there. And I've had to explain that several times. It's like, listen, it's just love. I just need my time. I just need my time to heal, to readjust, because it's like a physical, you know, when you're in union with someone else, it becomes almost physical. So you feel that missing, and I have to go through that process. And we can only go through that process. I can only go through that process with some differing degrees of space, you know? sometimes it can be somewhat loose, like you describe your relationship with that ex. Sometimes it just have to be a no calls, no nothing. But within it, there is no demonization. And as I speak of this, it brings to mind mothers, women who I have, yes, witnessed and heard of demonizing the fathers of their children because their relationship fail, and cussing the child. You're just like, I can't even. It's like, no, come on now. It's like, but I find that they can't hear until they can hear. They can't embody that, because embody that level of understanding or forgiveness or lovingness, again, because the wounds are so deep. Their wounds as women are so deep, and more often than not, it didn't start with them, mommy, grandmother, great grandmother, because remember that, especially with us, we were divisively, by design, the babies were taken, the men were taken, boy baby, girl baby, so everybody vexed with everybody. Nobody mustn't trust nobody, divide and fucking conquer.
That's right.
You know?
No safety. No safety. Nobody within the Black family tree was safe for you to be about or with.
And as you start to trust a little bit as a child, Nana might get sold somewhere, or, you know, and so these wounds just come down. And we just, yeah, it's like we just shroom this pain. You know, that's how I see it. So it's like, no, at this time, when we are being stirred at our bones and in our roots to open up and to love, you know, and the little boys opening up to being held, and women opening up little to trusting. It's important for each of us to recognize that, like you said, we have the same feelings. We all want to be able to have some comfort when there is pain. We can carry a certain level of pain, we're designed to do that, because we also have to be able to go through the fire of refinement, which is uncomfortable, you know. However, it's like if you're swimming underwater, naturally we have to come up for some air, and in that time we want to be held, and then it's all right, I get enough air now, so be okay that I don't need so much now. You know, and yeah, stay with me, because that's another thing in terms of the relationship and the template of relationship. What I've come to see recently is that we've been given this template. It's like women, we seem to, we say we want a man that can understand and that can be gentle and that can be strong and protective, and, you know, but it's like him don't understand, you know, but that is not, he's a man. That is not, by physical design, them carry less water. So one person is not to fit all the molds or all the ideas of, you know, yes, your girlfriend have to hold you sometimes, your sister, you know, your auntie, your mommy, your grandmother, you have to hold yourself. He's not necessarily built to hold so much emotion, and a lot of people will not like to hear this, but it is true, you know. And again, what are, or where do our examples come from? The same colonized origins that we have issues with. And be mindful, this is not just, it's not a black and white thing, it's not a race thing I'm talking about, because all races experience this. Is a, it's a masculine, feminine thing within and without, you know? So compassion, slowing down, and for the men to understand that we are women. And I said the men because I've been with women who are also very masculine, you know. So again, is to understand that when a woman is tearful and expressive, it's not to put guilt on, it's not that when you get to fix, or sorry, to fix the pain or to take the pain away. Not in all cases. Yes, there are some who use this in a manipulative way to try to get attention, and you know, but to be able to hold space, just to be able to hold space. That's it. It's like just be the tree that I can lean on and cry onto. That's it. The tree not going to tell me can't fix it. The tree just going to be the tree.
Safe spaces. Oh, you said so much there, Saya. But yeah, when I first was promoting the documentary, you know, you're doing little lives and radios and stuff, and people was like, well, you know, what would you say to women? And I said, you know, are you a safe space? When your partner comes home, are you a safe space? Because some of you are looking for him to act and respond the same way your brethren act and respond, right? Whereas a man is a bit more internal. So when he comes in and he relaxes and whatever, you gotta be a safe space that he slowly makes his way towards you. You know, it might just be silence, just chilling and being in silence. That is for him, I'm in this safe space. And you being ready when he does go to hug, not, I tried to hug you when you came in, you didn't even bother to hug me, and it all being on your time and you're ready. Like, I have a lot of good relationship with my male friends, and we talk. And my friends always, well, how come you talk? I said, because I just listen. I just listen. I just listening. I don't need them to explain it to me in a certain way or say a certain way. Sometimes they're like, nah, man, women are blah, blah, blah. I don't feel that they're talking about me. I feel like they're just expressing whatever it is that they are feeling. So we're cool. They hold space for me. I hold space for them. But what had happened in the documentary with the men that I spoke to, when I asked them at the end, because this first part of the documentary is mostly guys that I've known in different capacities of my life, some 10 years, some 20 years. And I asked them at the end, you know, why would you talk to me in this documentary? And they was like, because it's you. Because you're a safe space, innit? I know I can just come to talk to you and there's no judgment. It's fine. And I think that's what women need to think about. It's not an act. Yeah, because I think sometimes, and men as well, they act, meaning this is how my partner, it needs to be, and this is what we do, and this is how and it's an act. And the act can only last for so long because it's not genuine. You're doing the act because you want something back, not because you say, this is who I'm choosing to be as this partner, and I'm a safe space for myself, and I want to create a safe space for anybody that is around me. That's how I am at home. You know, I expect that when people come through the door, look, this is my Zen space. So you're going to come down into the Zen space.
Into it.
Chill out. I've had some friends come and they'll be like, man, I'm falling asleep. It's okay. Clearly you're tired. Relax. It's fine. You don't even need to talk to me. It's good. There's no TV here, whatever. So you have to, you know, just relax. And they don't understand, but why am I getting... That's the environment I've created here. This is where my relaxing space. There ain't no hype things happening here. It's cultivated that way. Don't feel afraid of it. But you see some people, because that's not the act, they're afraid of it. So they're not comfortable. You know, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Like, shouldn't we be doing this? Should we? No, it's okay to just relax. Can we just be still in space? Because People don't even realize to even be able to sleep. Because I realize I don't sleep. Next step. You know what I mean? Not every part I didn't have no sweet sleep. And I know the ones that I'm like, yo, I slept like a baby. And they may not even be the relationships that it was that tight, but there was something that I went into, everything in me relaxed and went into a place of safety. And I felt secure. And both the divine masculine and divine feminine, that's what people want to do. They want to feel safe to grow and safe to be. Because I love what you said in what you had written, where you said, you know, sometimes my divine masculine is like this and sometimes they're like that. And I remember from very young, I don't know where I got the idea from, but when I first started twin flames or whatever is like that, I just said, you know what? I used to say to people are walking on they're walking on paths, right? And then sometimes you're walking and you just realize and you look and you go, raw. This person's walking the same way as you. Do you know what I mean? And you're having a little bit of a conversation and you're like, and the road gets closer, but we're still on path. So this person's not supposed to jump off their path to come on this path or jump off and go off onto that path. We can still continue on travel. I can still hold your hand as you are walking towards where you need to go and I'm walking where I need to go. But what happens with people is they think they have to stop doing this in it and stop being this. And I can't be this. And then you become resentful. Then you become bitter. Then you've made it that person's not growing enough or that person's this. And then it becomes you suddenly super analyzing. You seem to know everything that is wrong with that person to justify that you feel that your needs are not being met. But no one didn't even have any conversation for the person to even be like, I wasn't even aware. What can I do now? What can I do now to make you feel safer? What can I do? And also, if it's in our DNA, say going back to those colonial times, which is so deep, right? We're not always conscious that I'm being distant. So when you make out, you know what you're doing. Sometimes I don't even know. So I want somebody to love and hold me enough to say, babes, you know, you're drawing back. Like, why are you drawing back? For me to be like, am I? Yeah, you're drawing back. Oh, sorry, I think my safety was compromised, or, you know, something just came up about my dad. Like I didn't, but it's an awareness. It's being here with people and me just gently observing if I love them and I want to be, you know, because like I said, in this physical world, do people want to be, or do they be with people because it's better to be with people and not be alone?
There you go, fear driven. And even in what you just described, we have to be in a place where we can trust what we are. When Bay is saying, you just pull away, the walls don't just come up and, you know, so yeah, that presence, that being in the moment, that allowing ourselves to surrender a little bit more each time, to surrender to recognizing where the doors close in us. That's I can only describe it how I see it. You know, recently something happened. I can't remember what it was that I remember. I was laying in my bed and I cannot have no memory of what triggered this feeling. But I just, maybe I wanted to eat something, or I wanted to smoke something suddenly. And it's like, no, hold on, where you running, go? Where you running, go? That's all I could hear. And where you run, go. Come. I just saw myself within myself saying, no, I don't want to go in there. I don't want, and I'm seeing this closed door within myself that I am. It's like, we're going to do this tonight. We're going to go into this door. And I think what I'm seeking to describe is so intimate. And it's like I'm describing it because there are many who can relate to the running, to the food, to the sex, to the person, to the what, you know, whatever the fixes are. And just in taking that, just deciding, say, all right, you know what, if I don't run to it, what will happen? And two things I find can happen. I stop and yeah, literally that breath comes and I'm like, all right, I'm going to open the door. I'm going to just open the door. I don't know what's behind the door. I don't, you know, but I'm going to open the door. And yes, this takes some presence. It takes patience. It requires will. And sometimes you might open the door and just fall asleep, and that is fine too. That is just allowing yourself to open the door and not run is a big deal. You open the door, or you just say, all right, you're not going to do this, you're not going to smoke, or you're not going to eat, or you're not going to do the things when you recognize it, and you just start feel angry, and you just start getting caught up in the train of thoughts that leads you to the blame and to the source of whatever the thing is that is really only a source of, it's only a trigger, it's only something to bring your attention, your tenderness, your affection to the part of you that want to, you know, want some attention and affection so that it don't have to hurt so much anymore the next time this thing happens.
Well, it's information.
There you go.
Yes. I say to
Yes.
people, when you're feeling, what is your feeling and the trigger? It's information, because I did think a little video a little while ago to talk to people about being the leader of uncomfortable conversations. If there's conversation you need to have, you need to lead it. Don't be like, oh, this person, but you need to lead it, because it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you're sitting in a space where it's hard for it to come out. And then I mentioned, if you're the receiver of some uncomfortable information that makes you feel triggered, you need to breathe, because it's in you. The other person is not sitting in you. They didn't decide, I'm gonna a bow and arrow, boom, it's not that. But people are so quick to be like, you're triggering me, you did it. No, this is something alive somewhere within you. And if you could just slow down for a minute and say, yo, what is this? Because some things I've felt and I'm like, yo, what's this? We need to work through this. This needs to go on, because I don't want this to grow. I don't want this to manifest, and this ain't me. So where did this come from? And I got to keep working through. And, you know, even when we're letting people go, it's a process. Sometimes
practice.
I'm not going to lie to you. There's times I have cussed something, and then I remember that when I sit here and I cuss something, the person's feeling it. And then I feel bad. So I'm like, you're not helping that person move to what they're doing, because you're just cussing. You're actually keeping them attached when you wanted to let go. And then, you know, forgiveness is a process. So then, you know, another 3 months go by and I just leave it. And then it will come up naturally in me. And I'm like, okay, so you're visiting me again. So, okay, I'm practicing. Let go a little bit more. And sometimes it takes time, but you've just got to be aware of what you're filled up with, and not fool yourself into thinking just because you're not in that anymore, or around that person anymore, or in that space anymore, or whatever, it's gone. It's not gone, yeah? Because you're trying to get ready. And this is why what you said in terms of space and allowing time and not jumping from here to there to whatever it is, because I need to make sure that I'm making myself whole again, so that I'm present for who next person comes in. I'm like, oh, because I'm on the next level. I've just learned something from where it is I'm here, but I can't just jump here, because then I'm going to start to get myself really confused and filled up, because, you know, you're getting filled up on people's energy, aren't you? You're around them, their aura, you're intimate with them, you're getting filled up on stuff that you need to be able to also clear out and you need to know what's yours, and you need to know what is other people. And you will only know that if you've got your own regular ritual of cleaning out. That's why I even said to, I know, like when I learned that I had ADD, long time in life, I knew that channeling, whatever they want to call it, but I know that it was a frequency. Yeah. And I refused when I was young. No one was going to diagnose me. No one. Yeah. It's later in life that I was like, okay, I know what this is, but I'm aware. So sometimes I'm like this, and I'm like this with my friends, and I'm like, it's happening. It's happening, guys. So, if I get too much, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like that. Even on the lives, I said to people, it's happening. I can't stop myself now. Just calm down, like whatever. And I'm okay because I'm present with myself as I'm talking to you. I am holding myself and seeing myself as I'm talking to you through myself, aware that I'm having this communion right now with Saya, with Saya's spirit, with Saya's higher self. I am receiving what she's saying, but I am aware, what does this mean for me right now? Where I'm at on my journey. And yes, you invited me to have this conversation, but on a grand scale, I'm like, yeah, but why did Saya invite me to have this conversation? What does this mean for where it is I'm at? And then when we said the divine masculine, I said, oh, it's all perfectly, so because I'm staying aware of what is the food, what's the nourishment that's coming. It's not just a conversation. It's not just a live. Yeah. This is in time with where I'm at, where you are at, in your healing, in your learning, in the teachings further. Yeah. In what we want. I know, I can feel the mass. I can feel, listen, as I felt the shift start this year, I said, yo, and the thing is, this is something else I have to say to people. You will know when you're like, oh, they're close. And then there's a whole next level of something that happens because you're like, oh my God. Because I've said to some clients, yeah, you say you want this. So boom, if he knocks on your door now, what's going to happen? Then they go, I'm not ready. Me not ready.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? And I think a lot of people are like that. You want. And so then that's also why you settle and you accept other things and whatever it is, because you're actually not really ready for what it is that you say, or you would dampen that down. There was something else I wanted to say as well, because obviously we're talking about it a lot more in terms of relationships. And I feel like romantic relationships, that's what you want to call it. This year, I feel like there's a lot to come up around that. I feel like we are moving, we've been in a sexual revolution, but it needs to come up. Like with that lower level stuff needs to come up. So we start seeing things more sacred. But when we look at those toxic feminine or toxic masculine traits, and we look at it also within our friend groups, and being a woman, are you a safe space for your other sisters, really? Or do you impart your views, feeling, thoughts, opinions that your mama gave you, that you shouldn't this or you should this or whatever it is, that that feminine nurturing and the masculine nurturing? Because my brother friends, a couple of them know that to me they represent father, brother, uncle that I don't have. They're an energy like that for me in my life, because my dad wasn't about. That's that. And they are fathers in real life, and they know. I've got one friend and he knows. I come to him when I need to make a decision. I come to him almost like a daughter. What do you think of this? Because I need his response and feeling. And even where I said to you this morning, or just to say to everybody, Saya found a page in her book, and I just happened to be looking for something in my notes, and then I found this other poem called Dear Black Man, which I have no recollection of writing, reading. When I read it, I was even quite shocked at how blatant it was. I don't even know if I would say it like that out loud. But first thing that came to me is, yeah, my brother Dwayne. I was like, I need to send it to him, man, because I knew he would hear it and receive it from me. He wouldn't be like, why you say that? He wouldn't. And I sent it, and he was like, wow. And he was like, you got to do that. And I'm going to write a response to it. And we're going to do a video because people need to hear, and they're going to get triggered. Yeah. And I just love you because you shared that with me, and that's your heart. And I know your heart, and you got my heart. And then I'm filled up. I felt encouraged, and I felt I was heard, and he uses language like that. I hear you, sis. I feel you. I this, that, and the other. And but it's also a fatherly encouragement. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, go true, darling. The same way when you hear your divine masculine that when you was in the woods that said, "You're good. Come, I got you. You don't need to make it so hard for yourself
Anymore.
Go this way. You're gonna find your way." And that's how we have to see how we need to talk with each other and how we juggle our masculine and feminine. Because sometimes we must have to say, "Listen, sis, you got this. Come now. You got, you know what I mean? I activate.
Your masculine
If you got
activate to
this, come now,
support
we
her
go.
feminine. That's the dance. It's the
Yeah. And
we are one.
That's right. And it's just so important to just have that awareness, because it's not just because you look this way. You know, I remember I've had on a physical where people have been like, "Well, you're not that feminine, are you?" I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't you like you're saying because I'm wearing my trousers on my feet. That I don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah. It doesn't change my softness. It doesn't change. I'm gonna cry. It doesn't change any of those things. And it's so superficial for you to decide this type of person could be treated softly because they're in a pencil skirt, and this person cannot be treated softly because they're in a tracksuit bottoms. Is so, don't take this the trigger. It's so basic. You need to get a bit deeper with yourself. Yeah, because that still again doesn't take away from if someone do that, you know, punch me or whatever, that it hurts. Like what, that I'm wearing this or I'm wearing, like, it's irrelevant. Yeah. And the only way I think people can get past that is you have to tune in. Like, be here. Where are you when you're talking to people? Where are you when you're having these relationships? Like when you're getting intimate, where are you?
And because if you can't be here, be there with you. That is another thing, you know. Thinking that you have the obligatory presence. I cannot be present. I'd rather not be present if I cannot be present. You know what I mean? The expectation and the pressures and it's like, come now, man, woman up and say, "No, I cannot do this right now."
Yes.
That's my ideal. Woman up and say, "No, I can't be right. I can't do this right now," because I'm going to say, I don't have capacity right now. Yes, you might get vexed and you might get vexed and she might get vexed and he might get, but
that's how it goes.
It can only be one number one. And when I hold space, when I am present, when I am listening, I am all here, all here. Whether you're my sister, my man, my woman, my uncle, my brother, you know, and that again, it's like I keep coming back to that sacred time, that sacred space, you know, because it's in here, the healing happening, the magic happening, the magnet getting stronger to attract what it is that you're saying you have, that you want, that you know, that you're desiring. You said something earlier about that movement and needing the time to clear up in between. And what happens then is, yes, you're demonizing who just left or whatever. You're not dealing with your shit, but you want the perfect person, but you just going to magnetize the same shit in another body.
Or you expecting that person, you hide the shit in it. They hide it under the carpet. Then that person met that
until
person,
it can't hide no more.
Then that person is like, who's I don't know who this. And then the other person, you never loved me, you just left. And then you want to get into your story again because you didn't want to clean up what's in your bag. You didn't want to clean up what's in your cupboard because it's too overwhelming for you to look at you. That's why I think when I look on, you just look on the socials and you'd see all men this, all men that, baby mothers, baby fathers, whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. When I watch, all I see is, you're talking about that over there, but really, what's your story in it? I can hear people's story as they're like, women are this, all men are that. And I'm like, oh, who hurt you then? I can hear that. Why don't you talk about the truth? I was in this situation and this really hurt me and this broke me and da-da-da. But what they need masses. They need sensationalism. They need it to like more people to build the case. Nobody knows who the person is that they're talking about because you're generalizing it. But by you agreeing, you're building up the case I have against this particular person of my personal relationship or whatever. And by you saying, women did that to me or men did that to me and whatever, you're justifying, but you're not healing.
Yeah. And if it's a king or a queen you want, you better be queening and kinging in here.
Yes.
You don't need
when I have people say to me queen, I say, which queen? Which queen are we talking about? Because some of them, they didn't move so righteous. So which queen? Can we be specific, please? Because everything's got its polarities. The deities have all got the polarities. It's the same as, when I say, if it's the Orishas and because Beyonce's into a shoon, everybody's into a shoon. I'm like, listen, you think that it's only a positive to the deity? You want to know what's going to come behind that.
That's right.
But then you don't want Oya. You don't want because you seem too like fierce. So no, you need to understand that too much of one or too much of it is not going to work. It's all going to be about this balance. And we need it and we need each other. Like, let's not pretend like we don't all need each other. Like, we are here to connect. We are here to assist each other on our journey. If it was the beginning of time, there's no 9 to 5. If we go to the beginning of time, there's no 9 to 5, there's no training, no YouTube, there's no this and the other. It's just beings and animals. That's it. And they had to learn to communicate, to exist, to be, and people just had each other. And then when you talk about, when you talked about the colonization, and I remember being very young, I don't know how young I was when I read that Willie Lynch speech, very, very young. And I just remember thinking, oh, I get the design, like I get the business plan. So they divided everybody on hate. So I remember being young and just being like, okay, so I just need to love. I just need to love because that's what they did. They made everybody hate each other. So I've got to do the opposite of that. And I've got to look further than the general image, because remember, everything that they did during that colonization side was visual. So we will beat the man visually so you can see, and then you're going to believe that he's weak. Yeah, they were never weak. They were super strong. That our men and women was out there for hours getting stronger and stronger because they were powered up by Ra. Right? This is why these people was confused how they could be out there for 14, 15 hours doing their rituals and their seances and stuff in at the night time. There's so much there's strength. Otherwise, how could we be here? How could we physically be here? Our ancestors were strong beyond a next level of words, and that strength lives within us. But they still was making love. They still was connected, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. Yeah. The generations wouldn't be here. And so it's just really important, I think, that, you take that time with yourself to go inwards and say, what do I want? Am I lovable? And what I mean by am I lovable is there sweetness in me that someone can tap into and drink from and touch? Yeah. Or is it just bitterness? Because bitterness can be there, but if someone can be like, you got a bit of a problem with that and you can do it because you've got enough sweetness in there to help the bitterness out. But if you've got that on a core level, no matter what you say, no matter nice words, no matter what actions, that energy of bitterness at the root, people gonna feel that. That's why people are like, not really sure. You know, I dated some people and I've said to them, you're not really into me like that. No, I am. You're a beautiful woman. You're saying a lot of things. But I know when someone wants to draw me near. I know when someone feels excited by who I am. I know when someone enjoys the presence of who I am as a unique expression of the divine. I know that. It's cool. But you see, when you bring that type of truth and be like, I can see, bruv, you wasn't on that. They can't admit it. So then we've got to continue to play. They want to continue to play the game. So you're going to call me a bit extra the next few days, whatever you think that you're gay, because I caught you out in your game. Yeah. And to be that truthful, to just be like, yeah, it's not that, is it? It's cool. It's not that, is it? Really? Like, let's be real. Yeah. And my heart's not going to open up anymore because I know that it's not really that. This isn't how I want to feel. You know what I mean? I know. And the thing is, you've also got to know for yourself what opens you up. And that gives you, that lets you know. So how you're held, how you're spoke to, how you're moved. If you have a partner and they don't, you need to find out what is it that they don't open up, because sometimes it is because you're not the safe space, rather than you being that person just cold or they don't have it. Well, sometimes I really want to, but every time I come to this space or I come into this environment or I come into your energy and whatever, it doesn't happen. Whereas, you know, when it's divine, whether it's a short inkling or a long, when it's divine, you just, and then magic.
Yeah. And to add to that, when you are used to opening that door that I spoke of earlier, when we're used to opening that door, when we're used to being honest and true, or, you know, practice being present with self, and we know the subtle, we know the feelings, we know the knowings of what the vibrations feel like. To come into, there is a difference between coming into a space as that person when that person's doors are closed and they are not. They haven't yet the courage to open those doors within themselves. And therefore, you can see that. And because you know how scary it is to do, you can honor that, you know, feel them pain. And yeah, it hurt, but it's not my pain. You know, I've been in situations where I've cried just at, I mean, my ball easy. Anybody will know me or spend 10 minutes with me will know. So saying that I cried is no big deal. But witnessing that level of fear and closed-heartedness, especially when knowing that that is not all there is. There is not only bitterness, because, you know, many of us can see beyond the bitterness and beyond the walls, etc. But when you can see, say, the walls just so high that it's almost like you're literally sabotaging yourself because you can't manage, yet you can't say, I can't manage. Yeah, that's like, I hope I haven't created too much confusion there, but I trust that who who it resonate with will, you know? Yeah, so it's not, I don't feel that it is so kind of, you can do this or I can do this. You can't hold you can't hold me. There are so many layers, you know, it come back to All right, I dealing with mine. I dealing with my pain. I healing. The word healing is starting to get on my nerves at the moment because it's like the healing don't stop. So everybody just sick and I stay sick. But no, there are layers of healing, and I feel I need to speak to that.
The stages, the
Stages
stripping, the stripping back of things.
and different rooms that
Yeah,
we have to go into. Different
and,
onions in different
and
rooms.
perspectives, because you know, sometimes you can get to a place with something and
Yeah,
you have a level of acceptance and whatever, and then 3 years later something
it's
comes up again
something
and you look at it
else.
from a different perspective
Yeah.
and you go, boy, I never even, oh my God. And then it's a different,
Here we go
I never
again.
saw
Yeah.
that was underneath, but you have to get that. You wouldn't have got there if you didn't peel the first bit up to know that there was this next layer underneath. And you know, when you said about it reminded me of actually of a situation when you said about, you know, when you're in a situation and somebody's, I don't know, whether they're in a space and they're feeding what they're feeding and you're feeding what you're feeding, but you're trying to honor. I remember a situation with a friend, a sister friend of mine. We were going through a deep shadow season, but we were also trying to be active. And I remember we went to go to this, we was supposed to meet to go to this kickboxing something in central London. And I went to go with her. I didn't really want to go, to be honest, because I didn't want to move. Do you know what I mean? It was my tie. And as the minute they told me to start doing burpees, I was like, this is too much.
No.
Too much. No, I can't. You know, there's some movements that you're like, that is not me. But I remember on the way there, this was the first week. It was the second week we actually did it. But on the first way, you know, you're getting on the train. She was traveling on exactly the train from the other way. So I'm coming from West London on the District line. She's coming from East London on the District line. There was problems. And, you know, you're increasingly getting more vexer because I'm feeding my shadow self. I don't really want to go, but I'm trying to show up for my brethren. And I just, you know what I mean? And we both got there. So we ended up getting late because of all this stuff. So then we can't do the class. And, you know, we was in Liverpool Street. You know, you just look at each other because you're in your stuff now. I'm not even vexed with you, but I'm having a moment. And I remember I just said to her, let's go and sit in Starbucks. And we went into Starbucks and we sat there for an hour and a half. We did not say nothing to each other. It was just, I got you, you got me, but I can't talk to you right now.
Decompression zone.
But I'm holding space.
Yes.
But I ain't got nothing to say right now, man. I'm going through my own internal thing. And if I speak, we might beef. I don't want to beef because you're in a fragile place and I'm in a fragile place. And I know why you're in a fragile place. And I know why I'm in a fragile place. I'll never forget that because it was like late in Liverpool Street till we sat there. And then it got to the end and it was like, we had a hot chocolate and then we were.
Yeah.
But it was just also just holding that space in a space of silence and allowing someone to go through their process and then come to you and say to you, do you know what? You know, when I was quiet that night or I didn't this day, actually I was processing this. When you do, and we should be able to allow that space and time, but it's the communication, like you said, because when someone's able to say, I am in this place, it's not you, I'm just in this place, but we lack communication because we fear that person's not going to understand. We fear that person's going to leave us. We think rejection is going to happen again. We fear abandonment. We've got some old stuff about that person that, you know, they act out. You know, we never give people a new chance to try differently. We don't hold sacred conversations to be like, how do you need to be held? You know, what happens when people meet? Do they say, you know, when you're angry, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
You know, when
anything at all.
If, you know, but do we say these things?
No.
We just have expectations that people will behave or do or whatever it is in accordance to what is we want. You know what I mean? So I was going to ask you a question though, Sarah, because time went.
Yeah, I was going to.
Time to move, but
yeah.
What's the future then, Sarah? this year, how we gonna support this next, because it's a new conversation. It's no
well,
one
for me, when I hear that, it's right here, it's right now. It is, the future is making a choice, a conscious choice in the moment when we start to become aware of whatever it is. It could be a conversation like this that spark insight, inspiration to go within. It may remind you to, oh, but I'm focusing on the person. So let me recognize that they're their own bubble, they're their own world, just like I am my own bubble. So let me just attend to this bubble. And it don't mean that we can't, we don't love other bubbles. We are loving bubbles. No matter how much bitterness in there, some light in there, love in there, you know? And so for me, I hear the future, but I'm very much, I think the future, the community is made up of the little parts. The future is made up of the present moments, the present choices. So, and too often we're looking to this idea of future, or we're back there acting here from that place of pain or that place of joy. What's right here? Maybe the future is practicing the being present and enjoying the gift of the present, even when it feels initially like shit. Because if you start to just, all right, accept the shit, is like them say, if you shit long enough, you stop smelling the shit. So it will disappear. It will, so patience with the process, allowing compassion to build up from the love within, and just trusting, surrendering, because there is no rush. We are infinite. There really is no rush. It's like we live in this matrix of feeling like we have to be there, or we have to be somewhere else other than right here. So yeah, that's where I feel the future is. Not just feel, but yeah, in terms of the energies of the moment and recent moments, I feel strongly that it is about plugging in to our source of power, to remembering who we are, what we are, because we're powerhouses,
return back. That's the word that's been coming up for me, is roots, like a return back to the roots of what you stand in and where you're
who
at.
You are. Remembering, because that is the sole purpose of being here. Yeah. Remembering, and yeah, it gets scary, it's painful. Sometimes it means revisiting pain, even if that's just in the body, and the community. This is where the allowing of community comes in, because if you trust it enough, you're going to be inspired in the present to reach out to just the right person, or you're going to sit next to just the right person on the bus. You're going to get a little inkling to say something to somebody you may never have spoken to before, and then you see the magic starting to happen. And these little things allow you to allow me to trust a little bit more, to do the little things, which become big and expansive. And I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, or I read back and I think, shit, I realize, shit, I went through X, Y, Z, and this is where I am. I wrote the word topic, feminine, masculine, almost 2 years ago, and it just opened today, right before the. So just being present, trust in the process, allowing ourselves to feel the pain and go into it, to feel the fear and go through it, you know. And yeah, the courage, the courage, and to allow ourselves to be inspired by our passion. Yeah, because that is a huge theme from what I can see. Just this letting go, this relinquishing of control. This relinquishing, this letting go of control. I mean, just all kind of magic start to happen. It feels like madness. It can feel very much like madness at first, as you know, in various forms. But yeah, allowing ourselves to grow, and every seed that sprouts, it sprout from darkness. It sprout from being somewhat deep inside the earth, which is dark and nurturing and holding. But it dark. You can't see where it go. The seed don't know where it's going. It don't know if it's going to see light. It just be the seed until it become a flipping tree or a plant, or a flower that presents some beauty, offers itself as some beauty or inspiration for a day, and that's okay. Yeah.
Allowing ourselves to, like you said, allowing ourselves to grow and evolve and expand, allowing ourselves to access that new knowledge within our divine masculine and feminine, allowing us to know different ways of feeling into those energies that is way outside of what it is that we see, and that, what you feel that, we all have these deep ideas about even how we want to be held and hugged, but then you have these images like you can only be hugged like that, and you have to understand it's limiting. Whereas that passion that you say, that fire, when I sit in myself and I think of Chia and I think of Chan and I think of the way that they groove, oh, I feel good.
Nothing like it.
You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even, it's mind blowing. It's actually much more even exciting than what's happening out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, we're in flow in here, and I I want my masculine to feel good, like, you know what I mean? And he's, you good, but like it's an equal dance of you.
And when it don't feel good, there is something in that not feeling good that is going to bring you to another level of feel good within yourself. So yeah, bring it. Because when we take out sword and we that growth is going to occur on both sides. Yeah.
And that's the gusto. And
yes,
yeah, that's just what I wanted to say, to the people, because it's a big topic. There's so many facets of this divine masculine. Like, I feel like
to be continued.
Today, there's so many different nuances, but just allow, surrender, have that courage, know that there's more to understand, to grow about how you flow and roll within you. Stay there, check yourself, look yourself in the mirror and say, yo, what do you like? Your thoughts, rude girl, ain't the one. How you move today. Like, you need to be that brethren to yourself, be that motivator to yourself, be that leadership to yourself. Stop looking outside, and like Saya said, what you need and who you need, you're going to see that they're going to match and they're going to come along, and then it's going to be a little bit easier. And staying present with those waves of feelings and emotions that keep you tied or locked in or shut off, and just let them flow, as to where I said in the beginning, where your body naturally, this is the grand design. That's why we sweat, we let it, things is coming out. That's why we be in circles and you can't stop going toilet. You can't stop going toilet. You can't stop. You're like, whoa, what's leaving today? And sometimes things, you just allow it. You just allow it. Like, I know when something comes and I just sit here and I like, oh, something's coming today. Then I know the next 2 days I have to just lie down and chill. And I have to let it do its thing. Because if I fight it, I'm going to start to cause chaos.
Yeah.
You know, in and around me. Oh, Saya.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank Uno.
Thank you.
Thank all who, stand behind you and within you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I hope, I trust that it has been and will be for many more. And I look forward to doing this again. It feels like enough time. Yes. Yes. So when anything come up and you want just I'm here. Just say, yeah, come. We can do this again. Yes, please. Thank you so much, Chia.
Thank you so much, Saya.
You're welcome as
Blessed to the people them out there. Thank you.
Ashe. Thank you. No.
You're gonna stop your tube. You right there, Sarah?
Are we off YouTube?
No, we're still on.
I thought so.